you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Burke, I've had, as of with Senior Chief Mike Day, 21 of my friends and colleagues commit suicide, veterans. So I'm going to say some things, and I want you to have that in the back of your mind at all times, please. I take this very seriously. It's very personal to me. Do you believe that our constitutional rights are granted by God?
I'm sorry, I'm here in a professional capacity, and my personal beliefs I won't bring into the hearing.
Okay. Well, do you believe that our constitutional rights are articulated in the Constitution of the United States?
I do.
Do you understand that our foundational documents say that our rights are derived from God?
I know the wording in the Constitution.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
great. So either you believe that our constitutional rights are granted to us by God and simply articulated in the Constitution, making them immutable, or you don't. Those two cannot exist in the same universe. Our rights are either immutable or they are not, which means if they're immutable, you can't take a pause on them. You can't have a cooling off period, for good or for bad, and oftentimes for bad. This is true. They are still our Constitution. I believe you took an oath to support and defend that at one point, and I don't think that expired. It did not. So when the VA opposes this bill that would absolutely infringe on our constitutional rights, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the rights for the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, this will infringe on that. So either your oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America expired, or you are in error in supporting this or opposing this bill. That is a factual statement. Okay, I want you to rethink this policy.
May I respond to that?
Of course you can. I'd love you to, Mr.
I will just say, I take exception to anyone, member of Congress or not, questioning my oath that I took.
I'm not.
My entire life, my entire adult life, has either been in uniform or serving those that were in uniform.
I get it.
I'm simply in a position where we are complying with the law, and we always commit to work with Congress on improving legislation in the matter of law. But for the record, I take it seriously as well.
Good. I'm not saying you don't, and I'm not impugning your reputation, sir. I'm just saying that these two things, by definition, cannot exist in the same universe. They're incompatible, and we have to do things in a way that we look at things globally. And again, the reason I told you I've had so many of my friends commit suicide, so that you know that I'm saying this from a place where I want that to stop. But we also have to balance our individual rights that are granted by God and articulated in the Constitution with sometimes these most horrible of things. I've held my friends' children's hands at their funeral because their father committed suicide, and I've cried with their widows. So this is real. But we have to make sure that we don't lose our freedoms trying to protect them. Can we agree on that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. Okay, going to this other. Mr. Pelt's Accrued Veterans Benefits Act. You oppose this bill, and why is that again? I mean, I read your testimony. I'd just like you to do the Reader's Digest. Have 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Yes, sir. There are just a couple things that it creates some complexities, different discontinuation dates.
Yep.
It not only makes it complicated for our veterans because of different dates and different change in benefits, impacts the complexity for the processing for our employees. And as you know, quality of processing is keenly important. And it also, the complexity with the different dates and the nuances also make it hard for things like technology advancements, automation, and speedy delivery of benefits.
Okay. So,
again,
sir,
happy to work with Congress on some technical assistance, but as written, we oppose for those reasons.
okay, but in the aggregate, if you had your choice to err on the side of the veteran or not, would this be more beneficial financially to the veteran or not?
Parts of it would be, other parts would actually be a detriment. There are some parts where it would negatively impact a surviving spouse.
Yep.
And remove a payment, and those are the things that we're concerned about.
Okay, then I seek a little bit more clarity in your testimony about this. Is that good? All right, with that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, were you here earlier, sir, Mr. Swanson?
Was I here?
Were you here for the first panel? Okay, so I don't have to go through the whole thing that Mr. Takano's referring to. It is very easy to legislate the removal of an inanimate object. I've been carrying weapons my entire adult life, and it's very easy to legislate removing that. It is nearly impossible to legislate the healing of a man's soul. And that's the core issue here. It's not the weapon, it's the soul of the person that's been injured by combat, and I have multiple combat tours. So what you're doing, sir, is chasing a symptom, and you're not looking at the root cause. I understand that you volunteered to study this again. I read your resume. It's incredibly impressive and tragic at the same time. I'm very sorry about your family's history. It's just terrible. Your academic record is incredibly impressive. And it just seems like you want to do more of the same. Study, 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 study. On a philosophical level, the Constitution of the United States has a provision that's written into it that allows you to change the Constitution if you feel that it's been in error or it needs addition. That's the amendment process. The 18th Amendment was passed that prohibited the sale of alcohol in the United States of America. It was in play for like 3 years, and they realized it was a terrible mistake because it had increased organized crime, and it was repealed. The original error that Mr. Takano is referring to, it wasn't just an error, it was the original sin of the United States of America. The compromise was made to count human beings as 2/3 of one person if they had more melanin in their skin than other people. And that was horrible. The finest, in my opinion, amendment that has ever passed in the United States of America is the 13th, which got rid of slavery and indentured servitude. So in the spirit of the 18th and the 21st Amendment, which repealed it, are you calling for the repeal of the Second Amendment?
I am not. I'm prepared to accept the way the Supreme Court has interpreted the Second Amendment and to try to work within the exception in Justice Scalia's statement in Heller that the right is not unlimited. And so it
That's
falls
correct.
to
And
us
in
to
reading
try
law,
to-
in the book Reading Law, Antonin Scalia goes through the developmental process of the Second Amendment, and I think that you're misinterpreting what he's saying. So now listen to me here. What we're doing is we are subverting the Second Amendment. The Veterans Administration does not have the authority to remove constitutional rights now or ever. This body, including my Democrat colleagues, are the only body that are chartered by our Constitution that can change it. You are not. Neither is he. You can't do that. And you're actively, willfully, and knowingly subverting the Constitution of the United States of America, and that will not stand with this body, sir. So either you amend the Constitution, which is incredibly difficult on purpose, so you can't willy-nilly change these things. It takes a very deliberative and hard-fought process. We watched the movie Lincoln last night as a body, and it's fantastic. It was a 2-month period of time about the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which freed men and helped correct the original sin in this country. And it was 20 Democrats voted for that. And if they had not, it would not have passed. So either you call for the repeal of the Second Amendment or you stop doing this. And you stop doing this. Knock it off. You're subverting the constitutional rights of American citizens, and you don't have that authority. We do. That is all I have to say. Yes, sir. Please comment, Mr. Swanson.
I certainly concede that we cannot broadly limit legal access to guns.
Well, then don't.
What we have to do is something more difficult, and that is to figure out who are the people who pose such a high risk of harming themselves or others that it is justified.
Mr. Swanson,
to
you're a
limit their
clinical
Second
psychologist who's been in this field for almost 40 years, and you haven't figured it out yet? Then maybe you should look at a different vocation, sir.
I think we've made a lot of progress on that score, and I think we have
We have not.
some
Veteran suicide's increasing. That's not true. That is not true. We've spent $19 billion in 2023 on suicide prevention, and suicides are increasing.
We need
So
to-
your methodology has been proven to be bad, and I have no more time, sir. With that, I yield back. Thank you.